The battle over states' voter rolls is waging on. Now the American Civil Liberties Union, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, and the Protect Democracy Project are out suing the Trump administration. They're asking a judge to bar the Department of Justice from accessing states' lists and deleting data it already obtained. Why are they going to such lengths? I'm pleased to bring in now Harmeet Dhillon, Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights at the U.S. Department of Justice. Harmeet, great to have you back with us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so we have several groups here. What gives? What's on these voter rolls that they have to sue to try to prevent you from actually viewing them?
Well, first, let me talk about the success. Now, we've gone and asked all 50 states in the District of Columbia to give us their voter rolls. This is something that the Attorney General is entitled to under the Civil Rights Act of 1960, which is basically a transparency statute. And we're using those to try to help these states comply with their Help America Vote Act requirements to keep their voter rolls up to date. So far, at least a third of the states have complied with us voluntarily or reached settlements with us. And what we're running and finding in these voter rolls is that there are hundreds of thousands of dead people on the voter rolls, and there are quite a few suspected non-citizens on the voter rolls. And now we're digging in further to see did people actually vote and what have you. But that's alarming, and that is from the states who are cooperating with us. So imagine what the ACLU and these other groups are trying to hide vis-a-vis the states that are not cooperating with us. And what you're going to find in states like California, where in Los Angeles County, for example, in 2017, they already admitted to Judicial Watch that they had over 1 million people on the voter rolls out of 10 million who didn't belong there. So those are pretty staggering numbers when you think about how elections, like the 2020 election, for example, was really decided by tens of thousands of votes in half a dozen counties. So this is no joke, and it's really important that we get to the bottom of this. We have transparency, and voters are entitled to that.
They sure are. Well, I'm glad you're fighting for it. And I think the state that you're locking heads with that's important to call out is Michigan. So you have a letter that you sent to the county clerk, and you want the ballots from the November 2024 federal election in Wayne County. But you've got Governor Gretchen Whitmer refusing to hand over the data. She says that the DOJ is trying to take away the constitutional rights of people in Michigan to vote. It just seems that there is a reason here that is deeper than that. She's accusing the president of weaponizing the Justice Department. Talk to us about how Gretchen Whitmer has any legal authority to prevent you from seeing these records, Harmeet.
The idea that anybody like Gretchen Whitmer can talk with a straight face about weaponizing the Department of Justice after the revelations that we've seen out of this Department of Justice in recent weeks is really laughable. But be that as it may, just looking at the logistics here, she sent this letter, the Attorney General of Michigan, a lot of bombast, posturing, and hand waving. But that's a distraction from the fact that she doesn't seem to actually have a client here. It's not clear that she's representing Wayne County. And we have a right to get these records from Wayne County. And our citations in our complaint, our letter complaining about why we need this, include at least three instances of improper voting conduct in that jurisdiction from the 2020 election, as well as alleged improprieties that I think I and other election lawyers identified very clearly in prior elections, including the 2020 election, where in Michigan, observers who are entitled to observe by law were barred from doing so. And so we intend to get these records, and we intend to get to the bottom of what's going on with these sloppy record keeping and inconsistent procedures in these states. Because what happens when you have these types of loosey-goosey procedures is people lose confidence in the outcome of elections, and then they don't vote. That's a bipartisan problem, and we need to put a stop to it.